The following video contains reference to inappropriate material. This video will not contain any directly risky material. There will not be any visuals or audio that could be considered 18+ in this analysis. However, this video does discuss some of those topics, so for the sake of discussion and documentation, viewer discretion is advised. I've waited to make this video for a long time, as I was kind of afraid to, and I still kind of am. It's a potentially touchy subject, and I don't want to open the floodgate for this type of content. I like being positive. And with that in mind, this video is going to be informative, but pretty jokey. It is an inherently weird idea, and the topic is kind of goofy, all things considered. It's kind of hard to take seriously. But as someone who has loved Pokemon since before I could say the damn alphabet, it's a topic I've wanted to approach for a while because, like most Pokemon fans, it has affected me to some degree. Whether it's the plethora of memes, or having your favorite Pokemon sadly fall into one of these categories, it's something I've experienced and I've seen others complain about as well. So I know I'm not alone in that sentiment. For instance, Gardevoir used to be my favorite Pokemon as a kid. I loved Gardevoir because it was my dad's favorite Pokemon, and it was one of the few positive things I remembered about him. Then I started using the internet, and my god, I think the internet likes Gardevoir a whole lot more. Granted, these factors hasn't really affected my enjoyment of Pokemon overall. However, it's something I've certainly noticed throughout the years of enjoying the franchise. And it got me thinking, what other Pokemon did the internet ruin? Also, let's put some big air quotes around ruin. None of these Pokemon are ruined, it's just a better title. Instead, we're looking at how their reputations have been ruined through outside factors. And once again, I will emphasize we'll be touching on weird topics, as I will be alluding to sensitive material. But obviously I won't show anything, like duh. That's asking YouTube to nuke my channel with every bomb they have in stock. That said, I've broken this video up into two sections. One discussing that type of stuff, and one discussing competitive Pokemon reputations. For the sake of retention, we'll be starting with the less crazy stuff, then moving on to the weird crap. Once again, don't take this video super seriously. I'm sure as hell not. So this is very much me being hyperbolic for the sake of discussion. All these Pokemon are perfectly fine in their own right. And let's be honest, we could say that all Pokemon have been defaced to some facet. So these are just the big contenders more or less. And definitely not a comprehensive list. Oh my god, no. Alright, well, let's begin. Competitive Pokemon is quite large, with events being held every year to determine the best of the best Pokemon players. And with such a big community of players, there's bound to be some unfavorable and overpowered strategies that hinder the appeal of a given Pokemon. Essentially, we'll be looking at Pokemon so annoying it started to affect their reputations outside of the games. Also, I don't keep up with competitive at all, but I'm gonna try my best here, so if I miss any real obvious ones, I apologize. To start, I'm hesitant to have legendaries and mythicals on this list, because like, duh, Tourneys banned them for a reason, as being strong is like their whole thing. But some were just too ridiculous to leave out, so I'll be touching upon the more notable ones, because otherwise I could put a majority of legendaries here and just call it a day. Mega Rayquaza was a menace. With it being a setup god due to its ability Delta Stream and just having outrageous stats mixed with a great move pool made it insanely strong. For those who are unaware, Delta Stream was an ability that set up a unique weather condition called Strong Wind, which instead of, increasing the power of fire or water attacks, it instead made all super effective moves to flying do neutral damage. Which means it essentially removed one of Rayquaza's weaknesses. He still takes 2 times ice damage due to the dragon typing, but it didn't stop this insane ability from being just pretty damn broken. However, the strongest part, if you ask me, was his ability to shut down all other weather conditions, meaning no other Pokemon could remove strong winds, except for Primal Groudon or Kyogre with their own special weather abilities, Desolate Land or Primordial Sea. This made Rayquaza insane, and eventually led to it being banned from Ubers. You know, one of the most inclusive categories. Yeah, I think that alone gives you an idea of how strong this truly was. That being said, while banned and certainly causing some people to dislike Rayquaza, at least a bit more than before, it's Rayquaza. It's a sick-ass dragon snake. It kind of makes sense for it to be so strong, and it seems most people's opinion on it hasn't changed that much. So while it was abused to no end, and whenever it did show up it was absolute hell, it seems the general consensus online is still positive. So I don't know why I put him on this list. I guess I just wanted to complain about Mega Rayquaza, I don't know. That sentiment, however, doesn't carry over, as Landorus Incarnate is pretty notorious, and this one fits the bill a lot more than Rayquaza. I'd say Rayquaza is undoubtedly more powerful, but that power didn't hinder its image all too much. However, people f***ing hate Landorus. In fact, people hated this ugly man-looking genie monstrosity since its inception, myself included, but its competitive viability and several bans have made this already disliked Pokemon downright hated. It seems to be due to, once again, its ability. Sheer Force is an ability that can increase the power of a damaging move by about 30%, with the trade-off of it removing any secondary effects. However, this ability only works on moves with secondary effects to begin with, so it doesn't sound that overpowered. on paper. This ability mixed with Landorus' really well balanced stats made it a menace. Then to top it off, it has a great type for dealing with status conditions, plus it has a great move pool to begin with, giving a ton of coverage. It essentially had the ability to ignore passive damage, and then powered up moves like Earth Power to sweep through a large portion of the enemy's team. And while we could continue to talk about legendaries, the thing is, legendaries and mythicals are hard for most people to hate, which means even when they're broken, online opinion tends to not sway too much, unless you're Landorus, in which you deserve it. Ugh, you. Nowadays, Smeargle isn't nearly as much of a competitive threat as it used to be. However, the damage has been done, and due to this, the painting pup has its fair share of haters, me being one of them. Look, the only time I've ever tried comp, I got Baton Pass Smeargle sweeped twice. For those not in the know, Baton Pass is a move that allows the user to swap out for another Pokemon. Yet instead of losing temporary stat buffs like increased attack via Sword Dance, it would pass those buffs onto the Pokemon that's swapped in, essentially allowing a Pokemon to set up and buff itself, then swap out to pass those buffs onto another, which is especially powerful if the Pokemon using Baton Pass has the ability to learn anything. And Smeargle does exactly that, with the move Sketch, a gimmick move that allows the user to permanently learn the target's last used move, making it perfect for gimmick strategies like Baton Pass. Also, it has Moody, an ability that randomly raises one stat by 2 stages, alongside lowering one to kind of balance it out every turn. So, add another annoyance to the list. Yeah, screw you, Snorgle. Snorgle? Snorgle, what? Yeah, screw you, Smeargle. Goofy Pablo Picasso dog. Funny enough, Toxapex is one of my favorite mons. Look how silly they are. I love them. Either way, let's talk why people don't. What's your feelings about stall tactics? Yeah, probably not great, huh? Well, introducing one of competitive's least favorite, stallers. With really good defense on both fronts and a pool of great moves, this prickly sea creature has made quite the name for itself. It all starts with, once again, its ability, Regenerator. An ability that restores 33% of the Pokemon's maximum HP when swapped out. Jeez. And it doesn't stop there, as due to its typing it tends to resist or is neutral to quite a few attacks, making it extra difficult to deal with. Honestly, I'm not great at explaining comp stuff, so I'd suggest watching this video by PokeaimMD if you want a more in-depth and better analysis on this particular mon. But to summarize, it was a bulky stall master, and while it doesn't seem as good in modern day competitive, it made its ways in the community and cemented many's hatred for this Pokemon. Like I said, I've played very little comp, so I still love Toxapex for being just a funny looking but lovable Pokemon. I may have some sea creature bias though. Let's continue the trend of bulky comp mons with Ferrothorn. Ferrothorn is in a very similar build to Toxapex, with pretty similar stat spreads and being used as a prevalent but also potent annoyance on the field. However, instead of stalling, though it can stall in its own rights, it's used primarily as a setup mon, putting down different entry hazards like stealth rocks or spikes, which do damage whenever a new Pokemon is swapped out, aka free damage. Then to top it off, due to having a pretty nice moveset, Ferrothorn has plenty of options for defense and recovery on top of its natural bulk through moves like Leech Seed or Thunder Wave, respectively allowing it to recover some HP or halt an opponent in its tracks. Also, it's just ugly, isn't it? I mean, that's some obvious bias, but like, I like all types of Pokemon designs, even the dumb ones, and I don't think Ferrothorn is interesting or cool enough to become a well-liked Pokemon. So unlike a Pokemon like Rayquaza, which gets away with being a menace due to its sick-ass design, Ferrothorn does not, leading to many just seeing this floating metal cactus as more of a nuisance than anything. Plus, unlike some of the mons on this list, Ferrothorn seems to still be used to this day, so I have a feeling the bad reputation for this mon will probably continue to fall as it gets even more use. Okay, time for the section most of you have been waiting for, or dreading. Yeah, if you want to stop here, I don't blame you, and I hope you enjoyed the first half of the video at least. Now, for the ones with a sense of morbid curiosity, I will say, finding visuals to convey what I'm talking about without having YouTube burst through my door with a hunting knife and a 12 gauge was a challenge. And that is probably my fault, since I want to make this video the most appropriate I can while touching upon riskier topics, but also like, how can I say smash 10 times over and keep it intriguing? But yeah, just keep that in mind when the visuals are mostly Pokemon gameplay. Also, reminder, we're not talking about like the Pokemon with the most art or something like that. No, it's the Pokemon that due to these factors have tarnished reputations outside of their control. It only makes sense to start here. Gardevoir is by far the most notoriously ruined Pokemon there is. Or second. Our next one is pretty damn close, if not worse. Being introduced in the Gen 3 games, it became an almost instant favorite among fans, with a well-liked design, which we'll discuss in a second, decent stats alongside a fine enough move pool, made it a moderately strong Pokemon for any team. I mean, Gardevoir can be a damn monster if it has the right abilities and moves, but that's not really what we're discussing here, is it? So, how has this seemingly perfectly fine Pokemon had its good name ruined? Well, Gardevoir has certain aspects to their design that has led them to being perceived a particular way in the World Wide Web. Gardevoir is quite an elegant looking Pokemon, yet isn't a pushover and does its best to defend those it cares about, doing absolutely whatever it takes to protect its trainer. And all of these attributes combined has led to them being one of the most laid Pokemon in existence. Which probably isn't a surprise to anyone who's engaged with the series for more than 10 minutes. You can't even search this Pokemon's name and get past the first few results without seeing something that makes you want to turn your eyes into a pile of gore. It seems a lot of this comes down to the fact that, yes, Gardevoir is feminine to some degree. And this combined with people saying it looks like it's wearing a bra and all this other junk has led to the internet doing what they do best. It's hard to figure out what patient zero is to this whole ordeal. I tried figuring it out, but the most I could find dated back to 2008 with some forum boards of people arguing over if Gardevoir is attractive or not. But considering Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire came out in 2002, it's clear this was definitely a thing well before then. Overall though, this one is pretty cut and dry. Gardevoir is a humanoid creature in the biggest media franchise in the entire world. It was inevitable. Still sad though, I truly hate to see such a good design get relegated to the Pokemon. It doesn't feel fair to those who just genuinely enjoy the design. I guess the internet isn't fair in general though. It's why I say you gotta have tough skin to really exist on the internet, or else people are just gonna clown on you. Also, side note, I don't get how Gardevoir is an attractive design. They're more comparable to a stick figure than anything else. Maybe I'm just oblivious. Well, yeah, I mean, I definitely am, but I just don't see the appeal in any design that looks like an anorexic pile of bones. Wait, okay, that makes no sense, but you get my point. 0 out of 10 on the smexiness scale, but 8 out of 10 on the cuteness scale. It's still a great Pokemon design, just one that's really been put through the ringer. Lucario was introduced in Gen 4, and like Gardevoir, became a fan favorite. Being used by the champion of that region and having its very own movie certainly helped win over the good graces of fans. Also, being a decently strong Mon doesn't hurt either. And I don't think anyone is surprised to see them here, mostly because they're in the thumbnail. Lucario tends to be given the title of first furry bait Pokemon, or first proper furry bait Pokemon, which I don't really agree with. I don't think there's anything to this design that yells furry bait. Besides, of course, being more anther than other Mons. However, for that to mean he's bait feels a little forced. I believe this just comes down to, once again, the internet creating this narrative that wasn't really there initially, hence the tarnished reputation. That being said, nowadays I 100% agree furry bait Pokemon exist. Just look at the likes of Incineroar, Cinderace, and Meowscarada? Magic Cat. Though, I must preface, that doesn't mean these are bad designs per se. But when compared to Lucario, I hope it's apparent why I don't believe he was ever intended to be anything more than just a cool Goku dog. With all this in mind though, Lucario has quite the reputation on the internet, as his strength, loyalty, and general stoic personality has made him a big favorite of many Pokemon fans. And some of those fans just like him a bit more than others, making him another one of the most fantasized Pokemon, for the sake of not being crude, which is insane. Dear God, why did I think this video was a good idea? Oh yeah, I didn't. That's why I waited for over a year to do this. Whoops. I hate this Pokemon, but others sure don't. Lopunny was introduced in Gen 4 as well, and is another cut and dry case. In fact, it's basically the same exact rationale as to why Gardevoir has been subjected to so much bullcrap on the internet. The design just has a few key aspects that got certain groups of people invested, for lack of a better word. From what I've gathered, it seems the most damning part of their design, similar to Gardevoir, is around this area. As some people see this as Lopunny covering their chest for reasons. Obviously, if you've seen Lopunny's 3D design, you know she's as flat as Tom being turned into a pancake via some very terrifying rollers. Jeez. 0 out of 10 on the smexiness scale. However, others would like to disagree, and the evidence is damning, as Lopunny is, unsurprisingly, seen as one of those Pokemon, leading to them, as expected, having a less than desirable reputation on the internet. Man, I hope this topic is at least kinda funny, even if it's in its own weird way. Oh, I no longer find this funny. Vaporeon was introduced in Gen 1, and like all evolutions, is a well-liked enough Pokemon. In fact, it wasn't until more recently that this Pokemon gained any form of infamy. As the story goes, in 2018, a post was made to 4chan. This post described in unnecessary detail why Vaporeon is objectively the most compatible Pokemon. Their words, not mine. And this soon became a viral copypasta, being spread throughout forums and social media like wildfire. And due to this, Vaporeon was quickly added to the Hall of Pokemon that the internet ruined the reputation of. While Gardevoir might be the more popular option overall, nowadays Vaporeon is 100% the more notorious. It's hard to be a Vaporeon fan without getting side eyes, even if just jokingly. Which especially sucks in this case, because while some of the other Mons in this list are much more anthro and in some cases pretty humanoid, Vaporeon is just a water dog. They didn't deserve this. Probably the saddest case of internet character assassination we'll see throughout this entire video. I'm already running out of interesting ways to approach these Mons. I thought this would be a lot more interesting, but it's just kind of meh. I mean, it's what you expect from the internet, I guess. You know, like, I'm not surprising anybody, I don't believe. Hopefully I'm being entertaining. Whatever, let's just finish this up. For our last Mon, I had quite a few options to choose from. However, to mix it up, I thought I'd go with a Mon that isn't just ruined due to weird, not safe for work stuff, but other factors as well. So I decided to go with a personal least favorite. I hate Hypno so much. I don't mind Drowsy, but Hypno? More like Hypno. Okay, bad. You know what? I don't even want to do this section. I'll be right back. I'm getting a snack.
Oh, okay. I guess I'm taking over for now. Let me just look over this totally real and tangible script. Alright, I can do that. If you have any real knowledge about Pokemon creepypastas, you probably know where I'm going with this, as they've led to Hypno gaining quite the ruined reputation. It seems that this all stems from its Fire Red Dex entry, where it alludes to a Hypno potentially kidnapping the people it hypnotizes. But even without that, there's earlier Dex entries like Silver's that don't paint it in the best light either, as they mention Hypno's ability to feast on the dreams of those it puts to sleep, adding another sinister layer to this already creepy Pokemon. That, plus Hypno's kind of ugly. And not like a pug where you go, oh my gosh, you're an abomination, but I just want to hug you. No, it's more like, wow, you look like you eat the souls of the damned. And you know what? They probably do. All of these aspects combined have given Hypno quite the bad rap over the years, with them often being at the center of many creepypasta and internet urban legends. The most famous example being Hypno's lullaby, but it's certainly not the only creepy story including this hypnotic Simpsons reject. Wow, Garden's script reads like a middle schooler trying to do what they think is comedy. I'm gonna go now. Sure, he'll be back soon enough.
Normally I'd take offense to a comment like that, but I didn't want to do that section, so whatever. Oh yeah, you forgot the part where people still make of them as well. It's a double whammy, and it's really gross. -1,000 out of 10 on the smexiness scale. Nasty Pokemon. And before I feel the need to explain any further, I'm exhausted. This video took so much out of me, so I think I'll leave it there. I didn't even hit the damn tip of the iceberg of this list, but I feel I have a good split between Pokemon reputations ruined via overuse, unfair strats, or just being plain overpowered, and, well, being subjected to you know what. But that was only 10 Mons out of 1,025? Yeah, needless to say, I barely hit the surface. That said, I don't see myself revisiting this topic anytime soon. Though I do plan to do more varied content like this, just a bit less weird in terms of topics. However, if you got this far, you probably liked this odd little video to some degree, so why not consider doing the YouTube thing and like, comment, and subscribe. I also made a Patreon where you'll be able to get videos early and some other cool little rewards like free art and your name at the end of the video. Speaking of, thank you channel members Best Pro Gaming and Stylish, then thank you to my $10 patrons, Cryptic. Then my $15 patrons, Psychic Clips and Benjamin Baker. Thank you all very much for the extra support, and I'm sorry that this has to be the first video where I say all your names. $10, I unlist this video within a month. Alright, I hope you all enjoyed this video, and I will see you all next time. Bye!